Welcome into The Shadows and to Macomb Paranormal Investigations and Research. I'm your host, Don Alter. Today, we travel deep into the remote wilderness of Washington State to explore one of the most disturbing paranormal legends ever broadcast across the airwaves, Mel's Hole, a story involving a mysterious hole in the earth that supposedly has no bottom. A place tied to death, to strange energies, to UFO sightings, to government secrecy, and possibly to something far older and darker than anyone realizes. Some believe it is merely an urban legend. Others believe it may be one of the greatest hidden paranormal mysteries in America. But nearly everyone who hears the story asks the same question. What if it's true? Tonight, we descend into the terrifying mystery of Mel's Hole. And if even part of the legend is real, then somewhere beneath the forests of Washington may exist a doorway humanity was never meant to discover. Let's dive into the shadows. The legend of Mel's Hole begins near the small town of Ellensburg. Located roughly 110 miles southeast of Seattle, Ellensburg sits in the isolated wilderness of central Washington state near the eastern slopes of the Cascade Mountains. The region is known for its dry desert landscape, rolling hills, forests, remote ranch land, and miles upon miles of lonely back roads disappearing into rugged terrain. It is the kind of place where strange stories survive. The kind of place where entire stretches of land remain untouched for decades. And at night, when the wind moves through the hills and the darkness swallows the open land, it becomes easy to imagine that something hidden could exist out there without ever being discovered. For paranormal researchers, the location itself feels almost perfect. Remote, quiet, isolated. A place where secrets could remain buried beneath the earth for generations. And according to legend, that is exactly what happened. The story first entered public consciousness in 1997 during a late-night broadcast of the paranormal radio show hosted by Art Bell. At the time, Bell's show had become legendary among listeners fascinated by UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, government conspiracies, and supernatural mysteries. Millions tuned in nightly, searching for answers to questions science could not explain. Then, one night, a man identifying himself only as Mel Waters called into the show. At first, the story sounded almost absurd. Mel claimed he owned remote property outside Ellensburg where an enormous mysterious hole existed on his land. Locals had apparently known about the hole for years. Ranchers supposedly used it as a dumping site. People threw garbage into it. Broken appliances, dead animals, construction debris, old tires, scrap metal. Yet according to everyone familiar with the pit, the hole never filled. No matter how much was thrown into it, it remained empty. Mel described the opening as roughly 9 feet wide, lined with old stone walls descending straight downward into darkness. Naturally, he became curious. And curiosity would eventually transform into obsession. Mel and several others attempted to determine how deep the shaft actually was. They used fishing line weighted with heavy sinkers. At first, they lowered several hundred feet. Then 1,000 feet. Then several thousand. Still nothing. No bottom. No splash. No sound. The line simply continued descending endlessly into the darkness below. Eventually, according to Mel, they lowered nearly 15 miles of fishing line into the shaft without ever reaching bottom. 15 miles. The claim sounded impossible. And that is exactly why the story exploded across paranormal communities. Because, if true, the hole violated everything known about geology and physics. No naturally occurring shaft should exist like that. Not on Earth. Scientists immediately dismissed the story, but listeners could not stop thinking about it, because the details felt strangely believable. Mel did not sound dramatic. He sounded calm, matter-of-fact, almost frightened by what he had discovered. And as his interviews continued, the story became far darker. According to Mel, animals feared the hole. Dogs refused to approach it. Birds reportedly avoided flying over it. Hunters claimed they felt physically sick standing nearby. Some described headaches. Others reported nausea, dizziness, panic, or an overwhelming feeling of dread. A few claimed the air around the pit felt electrically charged. as if the ground itself vibrated with unseen energy. Then came the story that transformed Mel's Hole into paranormal legend. Mel claimed local residents once threw the body of a dead dog into the pit. Days later, the dog allegedly returned alive. The animal reportedly appeared confused, but otherwise unharmed. That single story changed everything, because now the mystery was no longer about geology. It became something supernatural, something terrifying. Was the hole somehow capable of reversing death? Was it connected to another dimension? Did time function differently inside it? Or perhaps, did something below return the animal? Paranormal theorists became obsessed with those possibilities, and the theories only grew stranger over time. Some researchers believe Mel's Hole may represent an interdimensional portal, a location where the normal laws of reality begin to break apart. There are numerous paranormal legends across the world describing places where the barrier between worlds becomes dangerously thin. Ancient cultures spoke of entrances to the underworld hidden within caves, wells, and deep pits. The Greeks believed certain caverns led to Tartarus. Native legends from various regions warned of forbidden places where spirits crossed between worlds. Some paranormal investigators believe Mel's Hole may fit into those ancient traditions. A doorway, a crossing point, a place where energy behaves differently. Others believe the hole may contain powerful electromagnetic anomalies capable of affecting human perception and even biological life. There are real, documented locations across Earth where magnetic fields behave unpredictably. Places where compasses spin wildly, electronic equipment malfunctions, animals behave irrationally. Some researchers suggest strong magnetic anomalies may influence the human brain itself, producing hallucinations, altered states of consciousness, feelings of fear, or even paranormal experiences. Could Mel's Hole sit on such an anomaly? Or was it something even stranger? Because, eventually, the UFO theories began. Throughout the western United States, there are numerous hotspots associated with both paranormal phenomena and unidentified aerial sightings. Places like Skinwalker Ranch became infamous for glowing objects in the sky, strange creatures, portals, missing time experiences, and bizarre electromagnetic disturbances. Researchers began noticing similarities between those reports and stories surrounding Mel's Hole. Witnesses allegedly reported strange lights appearing near the property late at night. Some claimed glowing objects descended toward the land before suddenly vanishing. Others described silent aerial craft hovering over the area. Electronic devices reportedly malfunctioned nearby. Compasses allegedly became unreliable. Batteries drained rapidly. Static interference affected radios. While none of these stories were ever officially verified, they became deeply connected to the growing legend. And then came the most controversial part of the story. According to Mel, the government became involved. Mel claimed that after his appearances on Art Bell's program, federal agents and military personnel suddenly took interest in the property. According to him, helicopters began appearing over the area. Vehicles arrived unexpectedly. Questions were asked. Then, according to the story, access to the land became restricted. Mel later claimed the property was essentially seized. Armed guards allegedly appeared. The site was supposedly closed off from public access. And eventually, Mel Waters disappeared from public view almost entirely. To conspiracy theorists, this was exactly what they expected. Because if the hole represented some kind of unknown scientific phenomenon, the government would absolutely want control over it, especially if the site possessed military value. And when people hear those theories today, they no longer sound as impossible as they once did. Because over the past several decades, governments around the world have quietly admitted to investigating unexplained aerial phenomena. Military UFO footage has been publicly released. Congressional hearings have discussed unidentified craft operating beyond known human capabilities. Programs once dismissed as conspiracy theories later turned out to be partially true. Projects involving psychic research, remote viewing, mind control experiments, advanced aerospace testing. So believers ask an unsettling question. If governments secretly studied those things, Why wouldn't they investigate a supposedly bottomless hole associated with strange energy and unexplained phenomena? Some theorists believe the hole may connect to underground military facilities. Others speculate it may contain unknown gravitational properties. A few even suggest it could be connected to non-human intelligence. And that is where the legend becomes truly terrifying, because some people believe something may actually live below. Over the years, internet forums and paranormal communities expanded the story far beyond the original radio broadcasts. Some claimed people who visited the region experienced vivid nightmares afterward. Others described hearing whispers in dreams, shadow figures, voices calling from darkness. Several paranormal investigators became convinced the hole somehow affected consciousness itself. A few theorized the site emitted frequencies capable of influencing the human mind. Others believed entities from another dimension may exist near the opening, watching, waiting. Some even compared Mel's Hole to alleged portals discussed in occult traditions and secret government research, a gateway between realities. And according to certain paranormal theories, such places may attract UFO activity naturally. If advanced non-human intelligences exist, perhaps they already understand how these locations function. Perhaps they use them, or perhaps they created them. The deeper the theories go, the darker they become. Even now, decades later, people continue searching for Mel's Hole. Satellite imagery is constantly analyzed online. Researchers compare maps of rural Washington searching for suspicious geological formations. Paranormal investigators travel to Ellensburg, hoping locals might reveal hidden information. And, despite all those efforts, no confirmed location has ever been discovered publicly. Some skeptics insist the entire story was simply one of the greatest paranormal hoaxes ever created, a brilliantly told fictional narrative designed for late-night radio. But others remain unconvinced, because despite years of investigation, nobody has completely disproven it either. And perhaps the most unsettling fact of all is that real unexplained geological anomalies absolutely do exist across the planet. Massive sinkholes, bottomless underwater blue holes, caves producing bizarre sounds, underground voids with strange magnetic properties. There are still places beneath Earth's surface humanity barely understands. Entire underground ecosystems remain undiscovered. And because those mysteries are real, Mel's Hole remains just believable enough to haunt people. Today, the story has evolved into modern paranormal folklore. A legend blending UFOs, government secrecy, dimensional portals, death, and the fear of the unknown into one terrifying mystery. And perhaps that is why it survives. Because, at its core, Mel's Hole taps into something ancient inside all of us. The fear of endless darkness beneath our feet. The fear that hidden places exist beyond human understanding. The fear that somewhere out there, reality itself may break apart. And if such a place truly exists, what would happen if someone finally reached the bottom? Or worse, what if there is no bottom at all? Maybe the government investigated the site because they discovered something dangerous. Maybe they found unknown energy. Maybe they encountered something impossible. Or maybe they simply realized the hole was exactly what Mel claimed it to be. A doorway, a wound in reality itself. A place where things enter and sometimes come back changed. To this day, no one knows the truth. No official records confirm the story. No verified scientific expedition has documented the site. Yet decades later, people still talk about it, still search for it, still fear it, because the unknown is always more terrifying than the answer. And somewhere in the wilderness outside Ellensburg, there may still be a dark opening in the earth descending endlessly into blackness, silent, waiting, watching, and perhaps one day, someone will finally discover what lies below. Until next time, always look into the shadows, and happy hauntings.